What makes a person a criminal? Despite the efforts of Lombroso, Kretschmer, Hudon, and Sheldon, any of them could find a determinant biological or morphological relation between the serial killers due to the weakness of their studies results. That's why their research was focused on the genetic field, but without abandoning them completely. The human karyotype is made up of 46 chromosomes, 22 identical pairs, and the sexual one, XX for women and XY for men. Through multiple studies, Joanna, 2013, points out that one of the first anomalies with relevance to criminal behavior is the emergence of a supplemental type X chromosome, which leads to the formula 47XXY, an anomaly which was called the Klinefelter's syndrome. It affects the testicular growth, which reduces the testosterone production. Should the patient to have this syndrome, it might cause muscular mass, corporal and facial hair reduction, and enlarging of breast tissue. Looking up for mental features from serial killers, it was identified the emotional affective instability. Joanna 13 firmly states that some of the main reasons for an individual to acquire this lack of love when childhood is caused by the failure to comply with social demands, causing a sort of rejection in affiliation groups, like school or family, influencing in the child's mind to feel underestimated. Another reason could be the absence of an appropriate family structure because of the lack of interest in raising the child, as a consequence of the loss of a parent due to death, divorce, or abandonment, the concern of providing a quality education due to low socioeconomic and cultural levels, alcoholism problems, and so on.
John Wade Grace was born on March 17, 1942, in Chicago. He died on May 10th, in 1994. He was raised with an abusive and alcoholic father and a Pacific mother. He was close to his sister and his mother, who called him Johnny. Grace dropped out of high school in senior year and lost contact with his family, heading to the West. He got a job in Las Vegas, lying about his age as an ambulance driver at the Palm Matern Memorial Park. He then got an interim post assistant in which he moved the cores such as the material from the hospital to the funeral homes. He was also allowed to sleep at night on the premise at the fact that he will consider seduction the necrophilic when his crimes were discovered. Years later, he enrolled and eventually graduated from Northwestern Business College in 1963. Grace became later involved in political activism, construction, and several other fields while he was in the track minor criminal charges. In 1975, he created this character named the Clown, where he was supported by his sales to charity, and there he had his habit, and his name was the Killer Clown. According to Grace's confession to the police, he will pick up a male runaways or male prostitutes in the mid-20s in Chicago at bus stations or at streets. Looking forward, he will come back to his house either pursuing them with money, sex, or offering them a job in his contractor company. Simply grabbing by the force or forcing them to grab into the car with the gunpoint. Once they got into his house, he will handcuff them or tie them up away with intoxicating them with alcohol or knocking them with a toy form. He tortured them various ways, such as using a fire poker, dropping hot candles on their bodies repeatedly and drowning them in their hot tubs, or placing them in their homemade trap. As it's shown, he would urinate on his victims. Grace would rape his victims both before and after killing them. Where he had a bad environment, he will probably consider his actions were good.
Responding to the question, what makes a criminal and what made John Wayne Gacy become one of the worst serial killers in the US? John Wayne had not any identified mental or physical illness from birth or genetically. Yet it is believed that it was his own experiences as a child that influenced him to these atrocities. As my teammate Edgar said, emotional affective instability in childhood is one of the mental features of serial killers. John comes from a family where the father wasn't abusive. He constantly belittled and beat by calling him a faggot or a sissy. Consequently, the boy's insecurities and distortion about his sexuality began here and grew over the years when a friend of his parents began abusing him at the age of 9. At this point, all of his life has been full of violence and abuse. In 1968, he committed his first crime at 26 years, sexually abusing against a 15-year-old boy. After this, he was evaluated with antisocial personality disorder. However, he only had 18 months in jail because of good behavior. Someone with antisocial personality disorder will typically be manipulative, deceitful, and reckless, and will not care for other people's feelings, as in Wayne's case. He even enjoyed killing. Seeing the blood rushing out of his body turned me on, Wayne said in one of his confessions. In conclusion, we can infer that a criminal is not born but made. As we all know, our personality and character is formed in childhood. Were he to be a bad childhood, he will probably grow up to be a bad adult. We must be careful with education and the example we give to children around us, as well as take care of them and prevent any harm or abuse from happening. Unfortunately, if it happens, address it in the best way to overcome it and not turn it into a trauma that drags into adulthood.